In this video, I'm going to show you how to lean bulk to build all the muscle you want without gaining unnecessary body fat along the way. But you may be wondering, well, why not just do a recomp like everyone else does? This is not the reality for most people. Social media is a highlight reel. A lot of people are on steroids. Many people alter their photos to make it look different than reality. The truth is, if muscle building is your primary goal, you need to eat in a calorie surplus to do so. And what this means is you're going to have to be okay with being a bit uncomfortable, carrying a little bit more body fat than you want to make sure you're not sacrificing your long-term goals for short-term gratification. I'm telling you, there's no way I ever would have been able to reach this condition if it wasn't for long building phase, or I should say phases, over multiple cycles to be in a good spot and taking the appropriate amount of time to build the muscle first. So first, let's get into the pace of weight gain you should be looking for, because while you need to be in a surplus to build muscle, you don't need to be in a huge surplus. That was a mistake people used to make all the time back in the day, and probably didn't build much more, if any more muscle than they would have with just a small surplus. So what you want to aim for is to gain between about 0.2% to 0.4% of your body weight on average per week. So for myself, I'm about 170 pounds, so that would be between about 1/3 of a pound to 2/3 of a pound on average per week. So where you start with your calories depends on your starting position. If you just finished up a cut and now you want to go into a lean bulking phase, then I would recommend not doing a reverse diet to gradually increase your calories from here. You want to bring yourself right back to maintenance first, and this is to help get your metabolism back into a better spot. Remember, your anabolic hormones, things like testosterone, IGF-1, things like that, they're not going to be in the best place, and that's going to make it pretty hard to build muscle. So once you've gotten into this maintenance phase, now you're going to increase your calories by around 50 to 100 per week, and just monitor your weight. If you continue to maintain your weight, just keep making increases until that changes, and eventually you'll start getting into a surplus. Once you get into that range of weight gain you're looking for, now you're going to hold those calories, and you'll likely keep gaining around the same amount for a while. This could be even possibly weeks or even months, and then eventually this is going to become your new maintenance calories again. Then you make that small bump up again to put you back into a small surplus and back into the gaining phase. Now you definitely want to make sure you're eating enough protein. Remember, protein is what actually builds muscle. I personally recommend about 1 gram per pound of body weight. Now some will argue with that and say that research has shown you only need about 0.8 grams per pound of even lean body mass. And while that may be true, I'd rather make sure that I'm maximizing the anabolic response as much as possible. If you find it's too hard to do or you're overly full because of it, then okay, fine, do that 0.8 grams per pound, but I would still do of your total weight and not lean body mass. You also want to split your protein amount pretty evenly, at least 3 times per day, but more optimally would be 4 or 5 times per day. And then as far as what you should do with your carbs and fats, honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Once your calories get nice and high, you're going to have a sufficient amount of both no matter what. Now, I'm not saying you can't track macros if you'd prefer to, and if you do want to, then I recommend between about 20 to 30% of your calories from fat and the rest of your calories from carbs. And then one of the big questions on your mind may be, well, how long do I need to bulk before I can cut again? And the short answer is as long as possible. You don't want to be keeping your cutting phases and your building phases relatively similar. You're not giving the body time to optimally build. It should be significantly more time building than cutting. At a minimum, I'd recommend double the time building than cutting, but ideally even more. I've sometimes gone for a year and a half, even close to 2 years before going into a cut that may only last for 16 to 20 weeks, just depending on how the process is going. Because muscle building is such a slow process, and if you keep going back into a calorie deficit because you don't like how much body fat you have, or the summer's coming up, or some sort of event, you're stopping that process and you can't accumulate as much muscle as you want. So be patient here and give yourself as much time as possible. Now, the last question you may be wondering is, okay, well, what about the training side of things? How frequently should I train? What should my training splits look like? Well, lucky for you, I already have a video on that you can check out up top next. Otherwise, I think you'll like this bottom video instead. I'll see you in one of those other videos.